Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Today with Ray. I'm your host, Ray Mati, and this is the show that highlights everyday entrepreneurs. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button to make sure you're the first ones to know when a new episode comes out. This week I'm with a good friend of mine, Wayne Hippo from PS Solutions, so make sure you tune in. We have a great story to share. We are truly in the presence of greatness. We joked about that off camera. He's going to tell you why in this episode. So, Wayne, how you doing today?
I'm great, and I'm really happy to be here, and it's so good to see you in action, too.
I know. It's been a minute. So I always open up these interviews with the question, tell us a little bit about yourself and why it is that you became an entrepreneur.
Sure. So born and raised in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and Altoona is a railroad city, and I was seventh generation in Altoona, and everyone before me worked for the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the first person in my family to go to college.
Wow.
And then first person to go to law school. And primarily the motivation for me is always two things that I love. I love helping the little guy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big reasons I wanted to be an attorney. And I love just solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so initially, the quest to go to law school seemed perfect for that. And I enjoyed the practice for years, practiced for 30 years, still have my license,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't practice. And within my career, I started as part of the helping the little guy in problem solving, working with entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So I wound up early on in my career working with the Ben Franklin Partnership.
Okay.
Ben Franklin Partnership was sort of Pennsylvania's answer to the Research Triangle.
Gotcha.
Not very successful answer, but it was great to be on the ground floor there, start dealing with the early days of that institution, and then started to work with entrepreneurs there. And then I had a chance to work for a venture capital company. Mm-hmm. Also an incredibly cool experience because my job there was to sort of be the first cut on every file that came in.
Okay.
So if somebody came in for funding, I wasn't there for a decision, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but I was reviewing every file to see if everything was in place before it got turned over to the full-time staff. So I got to learn a lot about
I'm sure.
business plans and cool ideas, crazy ideas.
Yeah.
Ran the gamut. So great experience there. And then practicing law, I was working for and helping small businesses. I was with a pretty established firm.
Okay.
And became partner there probably very quickly, but it was pretty obvious it wasn't ever going to be my firm.
Mm-hmm.
And so the entrepreneurial part of me and being able to do new things and explore new options just made me form my own firm.
Mm-hmm.
And ran that for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah. All the time, again, one of the things I saw practicing law that was good and bad was the better you got, the more pressure it was to keep working for the more established
Mm-hmm.
institutions, and that's where the money is, and that's where that chase takes over. And eventually, and that was a big part of the impetus of wanting my own place was I don't want to represent insurance companies,
Right.
banks, or anything like that. So I was able to get back to helping individuals, helping people solve problems. So that was a huge part of the impetus. And then when we did PS Solutions 15 years ago,
Wow.
we my business partner Joe Morelli is I tell everyone we met in junior bowling when we were 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I've literally known this guy all my life. But he's much more technical than I am. He was a software developer who went into the business side of software development. I had been representing some staffing companies and learning that part of the industry, and eventually between him getting just fed up doing it for others and having his own entrepreneurial desires, and me wanting to sort of step away from the law and just address problem solving and challenges in another format. We got to talking, wrote the business plan, and started away at PS Solutions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, wow. I didn't know you were in business with your best friend, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they tell you not to do that, but it's,
Yeah.
we've hardly tried to kill each other more than a half dozen times in 15 years. That's pretty good.
That is lucky. Listen.
No, it is lucky. I mean, it could have ruined the friendship, and the families are close.
Yeah.
And all that, but no, it's been great.
Wow. So I first want to say what a commendable story to know that you were the first one to go to college. That's amazing. And I'm sure it's opened the path way for your kids, setting that precedence for them, and going to law school and climbing the ladder, then starting your own firm. Amazing.
My parents, particularly my dad, was both my parents were fantastic people. My dad had a work ethic that was unbelievable. And part of his drive, and it sounds schmaltzy, but he was all about building better opportunities for his family. And so my brother and I were both the beneficiary of that sort of work ethic and desire to open doors for the next generation. Yeah.
So is that work ethic what led you not to only be a lawyer, but to eventually be the mayor of the town?
I had an interest in politics all my life.
Okay.
And so, in fact, I'm a Penn State grad, and when I first went to Penn State, I was majoring in political science, which would have been foolish. And I had some good advice early on about, it's not the best major. You might want to go to law school, and it's not a bad major to go to law school, but it's not great for that even. But why don't you just figure out something that fascinates you, or something that you love doing, or and major in that instead. So I switched out of political science into finance.
Okay.
And when I did that, I had an opportunity to meet another professor by happenstance, who referred me to a local state representative for an internship.
Okay.
And that was a gentleman by the name of Rick Dice, and Rick was an amazing mentor to me, second only to my father, probably,
right,
an influence in my career. So we wound up working for him, working in Harrisburg, learning the ropes, and eventually got appointed by a Democratic mayor in Altoona to serve on the Altoona Housing Authority.
Okay.
That was an experience because it was crazy times there, and that's where you learn. When you're in any office, any part of public service, the best thing you can do is educate yourself as to what the issue is, make a decision without emotion.
Okay.
I don't mean eliminate emotion or eliminate the emotional part of the motivation, but what I always try and say is, if you just react based on an emotion without getting the details and thinking things through, it's easy to make bad decisions. So learning to educate yourself about public issues when people are yelling at you, and realizing that the yelling comes from emotion, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but that emotion can sometimes block you from making the right decision, and that makes it hard.
Yeah.
But learned a lot of great lessons there, and then I wound up initially on city council, and had a lot of great experiences there. Realizing when you first get elected, you're full of vinegar and ready to go.
Yeah.
And guess what? You have no idea what you're doing.
Right.
I don't care how qualified anyone is, when they first sit behind that chair, unless they're lying to themselves, you don't know what you're doing. You have to, good advice, I think, is shut up and listen.
Right.
and learn as much as you can uh, about what's really going on, and then how to accomplish what you want to accomplish the right way, as opposed to just flying off the handle or
Right.
reacting.
Yeah. Most people that get into those places where they don't know exactly what they're doing, I think the term for it now is just being delulu, just, figuring it out along the way. But I think it's hilarious when people just kind of like step in there, and then they don't have the forewithal to shut up and listen. I was always taught you have two ears and one mouth for that very reason. And so I think it's incredible that you did things appropriately, that you made it make sense to you in that way, but also making it make sense to the people. I think it's so wise, the piece that you said about, the emotion, it comes from a real place. It's not bad, but the way that you handle that and execute that, I'm sure helped you along in your entrepreneurial journey a lot.
Let me give you a quick example about that. We had an issue thrown in front of us. It sounds like really old school, but it was. People had burning barrels, and you have to remember when you're in the city and everyone's living in tight houses 3 feet apart, those burning barrels can cause a lot of problems. Fire safety problems, probably the top, but other nuisance issues. And there was a move to ban these, and get rid of them in the city. And it sounds like it's something that should have happened 50 years ago, and probably should have. But man, 50 people would show up, be upset. And then the lesson you had to learn, though, was they're coming from emotion, and 50 people yelling at you with 50,000 sitting at home is not that many.
Right.
And so the intimidation of the vocal minority screaming over their personal issue, wanting to burn their trash, could be horribly intimidating.
Yeah.
But you had to educate yourself. You had to realize what's the right thing to do here. What are their arguments? Are there valid responses to the arguments? And we made the decision. And the cool thing about it was we got it banned on a 4-3 vote.
Okay.
And all 4 people that voted to ban it were reelected.
Interesting.
So, and it was always supposed to be a massive issue locally. You can't do this. But you learn those kind of lessons of not being afraid to step out, try something new, try something, to be bold and sort of stand against what is at least perceived to be, the common thinking is. So.
I liked what you said just then, to be bold, to step out, and that's what this show is all really about, is about the people that did do something bold and become this entrepreneur. And, I love hearing everyone's story because they're different. Everyone has their own pieces of nuggets and advice that they've kind of took along the way from their own personal experience. I would love to know your thoughts, though, being a mayor and then moving to a new city, filling out the lay of the land. Not to make this any political episode or anything, but I would love to know your thoughts about the entrepreneurial community that we have here, and your thoughts from your own personal standpoint, but just having that kind of in the back of your mind, like political wise, like, do you think we have a good business community here in Wilmington?
My reaction is that yes, but keep in mind, coming from Pennsylvania, where there's very little growth,
right,
and they're struggling to survive. The biggest frustration I had in office was, I used to say we were getting very good at not dying.
Oh, wow.
Not growing. We're figuring out how to survive. And it creates a mentality that, frankly, is disturbing, because it's like if you think of, if you give prisoners bread and water only, and all they get is bread and water, then two horrible things happen. They start thinking that's all that's out there.
Yeah.
And then that's all they deserve. And then when you start maybe putting peanut butter on the bread, people are saying, why would you do that? I don't deserve that. And so you get the mentality is all I happy for is, am I going to still get bread and water? There's no growth mindset. There's no desire to, what's next? How can we make it better? It's how do we survive? So coming out of that environment to Wilmington with high growth and when my wife Linda and I first started coming down in 2016, we'd be back a month later. We were exploring, trying to solve this problem, figure out where to be. And we'd be driving and say, wait a minute, there's a new neighborhood coming up here, or there's a new mall going in here. So the growth was astounding and amazing. So we're coming from that perspective. I think it's amazing what's happening here.
Yeah.
Could it be better? I'm sure. It always can be. I also try and keep in mind from when I was in office, I don't know everything that's going on, so I try not to judge everything. I try to remember that you don't know the story behind the story. Stay calm, ask questions. So I don't have any complaints, and I think it's way better than what I was used to, unfortunately.
Wow. Such a different perspective, again, because I'm a local, so I've just kind of seen this explosion of growth, and to hear that perspective makes me, I don't know, kind of appreciate Wilmington a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a nice ecosystem forming here. Again, I'm not saying it's perfect, but you look at the numbers and how Wilmington's being ranked nationally and internationally in terms of business growth and entrepreneurship growth and startups. It's pretty impressive.
It is.
And they've had some big wins. And so there's a lot to be proud of and a lot to build on.
Yeah. So if you're a local Wilmingtonian, make sure you hit the comment section and let us know what your favorite business is. With that, we're going to take a quick short break, and we'll be back. We're here with Wayne Hippo with PS Solutions. See you on the other side.
At Cape Fear Community College's Small Business Center, our mission is clear: to boost the number and success rate of viable small businesses in New Hanover and Pender County. We offer high-quality, readily accessible assistance to prospective and existing small business owners, leading to job creation and retention. As a community-based provider, we offer education, training, counseling, referral, and information services, all at no charge. Remember, the business starts with an idea, but success begins with a plan. We're here to help you with that plan. To get started, visit our website at cfcc.edu/SBC or give us a call at 910-362-7469. Let's get started.
Discover the innovations shaping the future of our oceans. Join us on September 17th at the UNCW's Burney Center. Engage with leading experts like Mark Huang from Sea Ahead and Susan Casey, author of Voices in the Ocean. Participate in dynamic panel discussions on building a North Carolina Blue Hub, empowering communities, startup innovations and sustainability, and funding ocean innovations. Early registration ends August 1st, so register now to secure your seat. Be part of the change. See you there.
And we're back, guys. Again, we're here with Wayne Hippo from PS Solution in the first half. Wow, what an incredible story. We're talking to the former mayor. We're talking to someone who's practiced law, the first person that went to college in their family. And I am just in awe of the story that you've shared so far. Yeah, I really am. Like, I truly love being able to sit down here with people and just hear their story. Yeah. I never knew that you were a former mayor. And now I know. And now all my viewers know too. So, again, we recapped that you started PS Solution 15 years ago with your best friend, and you've had the best business luck because you guys are still friends.
We are.
So walk us through 15 years ago. You said, hey, It's time to be bold. It's time to do something different. I'm going to take that leap. And tell us about PS Solutions.
I think that's such an important part of entrepreneurship is the ability to start.
Right.
So many people are just, afraid of failure, afraid of maybe embarrassing themselves, and it's natural. It's part of human nature. And I think some of the things that helped were going through the experience of starting my own law firm, and running that, and then watching others do it as I was working with them, either through Ben Franklin or through my own law practice, or what have you, seeing that success, that allowed us to have the courage to start, and that's so important.
Yeah.
Was it Mike Tyson that says everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face?
Until they get punched in the face. That's right.
And you wind up learning quickly that you get punched in the face, and
that's right.
And it wasn't easy when we started. Joe loves telling the story of, sitting in our office in Altoona, trying to figure out who to reach out to for clients. And remember, it's a railroad town.
Yeah.
So Joe's looking out the window, watching the trains go by, and looking to see who's moving freight, and writing down the. I mean, it was that desperate for a while. I don't know that worked. I'm not saying I'd recommend that to anybody, but it was days like that we look back at and laugh, and we still have challenges. We still, fight through problems and have to tackle things. I mean, even this week. But one of the things that's been obvious to me from all my entrepreneur efforts, from whether I started my own firm or any of the businesses I've worked with, is I've always wound up saying, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
Once you're in there and once you're building toward it, it's I don't think an addiction's a fair word, but it becomes a lifestyle. And I couldn't ever see myself going back to a regular job.
Same.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, that it's been an amazing experience, highs, lows, ups and downs. And the other part is the willingness to, I hate the word pivot, but to transform yourself, I think, because we've headed down several paths. We started out predominantly doing staffing.
Okay.
Pure staffing. In fact, our legal business name is Professional Staffing Solutions. And we wound up building some success there, and then realizing that the talent, the software developers in particular, were so important in what we were doing that we wanted them on our team, not just to place them other places.
Right.
And so we wound up changing our name legally to PS Solutions, because we transitioned from staffing to a solutions business.
Yeah.
Where we were employing the people to work for us on our bench. And that puts the pressure on you, because now you've got to have the people, pay the people, and have the work to bill. And it's a tough business. We're part of a national industry group called TechServe Alliance.
Okay.
A lot of businesses in the technology staffing and solutions industry, but the people that do solutions successfully in that group on a national basis are at about 5%. The rest are staffing.
Wow.
So we're in a small, very difficult minority of those businesses. But we like doing that, and it's a challenge, and it forces you to be creative too.
Oh, I'm sure. So, being that you're kind of in this niche market, per se, what clientele are you looking for? Is it B2B? Talk to us based on what you do, how you find clientele, and who's the people that you're looking for.
Yeah, we're all B2B, and we write custom software for businesses. That's our sweet spot. Love helping folks deal with particularly issues that maybe they've had their own software and it's 10 years old, and there are security problems and it's not working in a current environment.
Right.
And coming in and being able to rewrite that from the ground up, to modernize it, to build in security, add AI or whatever's needed. That's the ideal client to us.
Okay.
I think if people step back and look at it, they think everyone's chasing the big technology companies, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
We deal a lot with companies whose primary purpose is not technology, but they rely on technology. So, or they need to.
Right.
So they've identified something they need to build. So that is sort of our sweet spot client.
Okay. And forgive me for, I guess, asking what would seem probably like menial questions to you. I'm just, so let's say like a client, are you building like firewalls or like protection for their software, or are you saying like they're running, I don't know, a business and they're just needing their customer-based software built for their website?
It can be anything from enterprise level,
Gotcha,
requiring software to run the entire operation.
Okay.
Or it can be sort of a middleware operation, maybe where somebody has a piece of off-the-shelf software and a second piece, and they don't talk to each other, they don't communicate, they don't exchange data, or we can come in and build a system that increases the efficiency of that operation.
Gotcha.
As now the software's working with each other, instead of someone trying to download reports, figure this out, download these reports, trying to make them make sense. I mean, we sort of, when we're doing middleware projects, we're freeing up the business owner to work on the important parts of the business as opposed to the frustration of,
right.
of trying to figure out all the data.
Gotcha. And when you pointed that out, figuring out data, have you seen an increase of needing software build or anything with the rise of technology? When you said like data, I think of how everything is kind of algorithmically, based. Have you seen an increase of like, hey, we need this or this because everyone's, using the technology, and, businesses want to make sure that A is plugging into B type of deal. Have you seen a rise over the 15 years?
It's been incredible. And everything you do, technology is touching it. So,
Right.
The demand is insane, and it's going to continue to grow. One of our founding principles is all of our software is written here by our employees in the United States. We don't send anything overseas. We believe that the technology is too important to everything we do, and every cyber attack you hear about, you realize the potential problems that are there, unless we're controlling the ability to manipulate technology.
Right.
And so we make certain that everything we do is built by people here in the U.S. who are employees. So that makes another challenge, though, because we've not done a great job in this country creating that talent pipeline.
Right.
And we're a little fish, don't get me wrong. And so when we're in Pittsburgh, we have a development center there. We're competing with, Pittsburgh's a massive technology center, just as Raleigh is.
Right. Okay.
But we're competing with major players, so we have to be creative in how we find our people, how we recruit them, attract them, and keep them. And that means sort of finding talent base where others aren't looking.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And, Pittsburgh's got great universities, but, we have found ways to hire people who have non-traditional education.
Okay.
And give those folks a chance to bloom, improve themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important tenet to our success. I believe it's, finding somebody who just needs a chance, who may not have that 4-year degree or may not come from the right school or what have you. Giving those people an opportunity to shine, have appropriate support for them,
Right.
and allow them to grow into their jobs.
Yeah.
That's been another really rewarding thing of what we've done over the years.
Wow. When you say talent, are you looking for people to move here to Wilmington, North Carolina? Is it hybrid based? Are you looking for someone that can just do the job remotely? I'm asking because there's probably tons of viewers that are out there that are like, oh yeah, I've been looking to get into this field, but like you said, I don't have the right degree or I didn't go to a certain school. So other companies, I mean, the job field is ridiculous right now. So when you talk about talent, are you looking for them to be here or?
Not necessarily. Well, COVID changed that.
Definitely.
And really, if you look at what we do, we have software developers who work for us.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the pitch to some of the businesses would be, look, instead of doing this in-house, you can have our people do it on our time and our location.
Okay.
And it used to be, before COVID, there was a big anti-work from home,
Right.
particularly in software development. There was a lot of lack of trust. And our argument used to be, well, wait a minute, these people aren't working at home. They're in our development centers. They have supervision. But then COVID literally turned everything on its ear. And now work from home is the standard. So
it's true.
We have to react to that.
Okay.
And so we still have a very full development center in Altoona.
Mm-hmm.
We have a development center here in Wilmington that we've been growing up and down, depending on what the need is. And keep in mind, back to the sort of crazy niche that we're in, it's hard for me to just go and say, I'm hiring somebody.
Yes.
Because we always have to balance the number of needs in the door with the number of needs that are finishing up.
Right.
Versus the available hours we have. It's very tricky. There's a lot that that's involved in it. So it's not like I'm constantly saying I'm going to hire 3 people this year. I need to grow the business so that I keep my bench full.
Right.
And grow it to the point where I can comfortably add somebody. Because if you add too many people and don't have the work for them, you can bleed out pretty quickly in this industry. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. That it has to make sense.
and to try and answer your question more, I like finding people here. We like finding local people, but with the current circumstance, we can literally find folks anywhere.
Right.
But we've always found that being able to build a team where there is at least some in-office interaction is way better for the employees, particularly if talking about folks who might not have the 4 years of education. Maybe they have a 2-year associate degree in computer science or even a strong boot camp presence.
Right.
For them to be in the office sitting beside senior developers and being able to freely exchange ideas and listen and learn, in my opinion, is very hard to replicate in a work from home environment for fresh outs.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right. There's a amount of wisdom that's lost when you don't get to, rub elbows with the upper guys. And also, I think there's something about morale boosting when you're in person. Now, you're right, COVID did change it for everyone, and some people have found more comfort in staying home. But I don't know, maybe it's me, I'm the extrovert. I need to be around people. I could never just be at a work from home place. There's something about the morale boosting when you get to hear the conversations from people in your same field to learn. I think it goes back to what you kind of said when you get into a field and you don't know everything. It's kind of that shut up and listen so that you in the few years can be the person that's now telling the advice.
Right, and it's really cool to see our people develop and transition from, somebody who's out of a boot camp trying to learn everything they can, to becoming somebody who's very confident in what they do, to becoming leaders and then helping others. So it's an interesting system, born of necessity. We have top flight people, don't get me wrong. But when we're recruiting, oftentimes we're bringing people in the middle or at the beginning of their careers and trying to nurture them and bring them along. We've been pretty successful with that. There's because I know you're ex-military, correct? So there's a great military transition program called Microsoft Service Academy.
Okay.
I started working with when we opened in Wilmington through Camp Lejeune. And what was fascinating is these were typically Marines up there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
But they were typically Marines who were getting ready to come back to the real world, and trying to figure out what they were going to do.
Yeah.
And they made a boot camp training available for them for, I think it's 17 weeks or something like that. But what a learning opportunity for us, because what we do involves solving problems. And so who better to solve a problem than somebody who's
solving a lot of problems.
Under serious conditions, right? We talked about Mike Tyson saying, well, what's the other one? No battle plan never survives the first encounter with the enemy.
Yeah.
Being able to realize, hey, I got to pivot. I got to figure out another solution here. That kind of mentality that's ingrained through the military service with the training, we found hire as many of those folks as will talk to me.
Yeah.
If I can add the need, I'm not afraid to hire from that. So it's been great seeing the different paths people can take, and we're really proud that we give people an opportunity to prove themselves.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to your heart at the beginning of this conversation, how you said you just love helping the little guy.
Sure.
And I love that that's still transitioned in your actions to today.
I grew up on 4th Avenue in Altoona. We may have been middle income, but if we were middle income, we were hanging on by our fingernails. We weren't poor per se, but so when I got hired out of law school, somebody gave me a chance, and I had to prove myself. I mean, I knew nobody, and fortunately, somebody gave me that chance. So we'd love giving those opportunities to people who otherwise might not have. We've been successful. We benefit from it too. Don't get me.
Right.
We've become really good at figuring out, all right, this is somebody who has a lot of fire, who impresses us. I still do an awful lot of first interviews because I'm not technical.
Yeah.
But we've become good at sort of spotting the person who has the it factor, who has the drive, who's not going to be denied in the ability to solve the problem. Those are great hires.
Yeah, I believe so. And again, you've just been dropping so many gems of like, hiring the person and giving them a chance. It's so needed. I'll say that. So with that, again, you've dropped a lot, but my last question to you, out of your robust life experience, entrepreneurial experience, what advice would you give someone that's looking to be an entrepreneur?
We may have touched on it earlier, but it's getting over the fear of failure.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up.
That's right.
And not listening to what other people are saying in the sense of being afraid of what they think or discouraging you from trying. I know that sounds a little different than I'm saying, being able to listen and learn.
No, yeah, that's great.
But when you're listening and learning, you always have to be filtering
What works for you?
what's value to me and what's somebody who's afraid and discouraging, because and it could be protective, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to see my child fail, so take the safe path.
Right.
Go into accounting.
Mhm.
So not being afraid to fail, getting over that fear of what others might think of you if you come up short,
Yeah.
and having the desire to keep going after it. You're going to fall, you're going to stumble, get back up and keep swinging.
That's right. You've heard it here first. Make sure you comment what gym you liked the best, because he's dropped so many. Wayne, thanks for coming on the show. This has been an incredible interview. And thanks to Elevate. Thanks to the sponsors for making this season happen. Thanks for you to watching. Thanks for my stand-in producer. Yes, the boss man is not here for this episode. And I'll be so transparent and vulnerable. I can't do this without him. So thanks, Abram, for stepping in. Until next week, make sure you go out and support a local business. I'm Rayma T. Bye. Hey guys, it's me, Rayma T, and I hope at the end of this episode you felt super inspired to shop within your local community. But make sure to tune in next week, where I'll have another entrepreneur to talk about their journey, here only on YouTube.